Okay, so my name is Katrina Carl. It is July 13th, 2025. I was born June 5th, 2005, and this is for the Juvenile Justice Admin class. Okay, so this is for Project 3. So, using your own words with the OJJDP information, what is meant by the upper age of jurisdiction? So, in my own words, I would describe it as the maximum age in which a juvenile court can originally go ahead and take a young person when they commit a crime or they do some sort of non-law abiding act, so some sort of criminal behavior, and any age above that, they fall into the adult court. Any age below is when they go to juvenile. So the upper age of jurisdiction is the maximum age that they will give somebody juvenile. So if we go on here, um, this is a map of the United States, and as you see here, it is highlighted the different ages. So we have 16 and 17. I did see online somewhere that they do one state, I don't remember which one, is actually sometimes they do 15. But normally it is 16 or 17 years old. Before looking it up, I did not know that I knew that it was 16, 17. I knew that was like the right age, but I didn't realize which states actually were 16 and which states were 17. Um, what is the federal definition of a juvenile? So, the federal definition of a juvenile is, I believe, the same as how I explained it before. It is somebody below the upper age of juvenile court jurisdiction and in their state. So 17, 16, it's just whoever is above or below that age level for that state. Also, I'd like to apologize. I am sick if it's hard to understand what I'm saying or if I sound different. Who is the primary referring source of juveniles to juvenile court? So the primary referring source is just anyone who is in law enforcement, police officer, anything of the such that can actually get somebody in trouble for committing an unlawful act. I went to this chart here, the one we worked on last, I believe it was the Project 2, where it shows that law enforcement referrals accounted for 82% of delinquency cases in 2019, and the remaining were made by other parents, victims, schools, probation officers, but the main source is police and law enforcement. So some FRQ topics to discuss. I'm there right now. Some FRQs. So which one do we want to do? So how many youth are held in residential placement on a given day in the US? 27,587 youth are held in residential placement facilities as of October 26, 2022. This is a very large number. So the term youth refers in this case to anybody who is under the age of 21 that is charged with an offense. So yeah. Let's find another one. Sorry, I'm adjusting my screen. So this kind of fits in with what we were doing. So like we discussed before, what are the upper and lower ages of delinquency and status offender jurisdiction? So in majority of states, the upper age is 17 and the lower age is not specified. As we see here, here's a more in-depth chart of not specified, lower age 6, 10. So the upper age of jurisdiction is the oldest age at which the juvenile court has original jurisdiction over an individual for law-abiding behavior. An upper age of 15 means that the juvenile court loses jurisdiction over a child when they turn 16. An upper age of 16 means that the juvenile court loses jurisdiction when the child turns 17, and so on until they turn 18, and then majority of the time they are referred to an adult court if they are 18, often through the age of 20. They can be sent down to juvenile, but depending on the case, they'll most likely be in an adult case. Let's do youth on probation. When is probation supervision used by the court? So probation is the oldest and most widely used community-based corrections program. Probation is used in both low risk and for the first time, as well as more serious offenses, they'll use an institutionalized confinement for the youth. So during the period of probation, the juvenile can remain in the community and resume normal activities as long as they follow their certain guidelines when it comes to school, work, community service, whatever they're instructed to do, as well as they have regular meetings with the probation officer. Let's go to topics. So, how do the living arrangements of children vary by race? So, in 2023, the majority of white children and Hispanic children lived in two-parent homes, compared to 44.6% of black children. So, nearly half of all black children live with one parent in 2023, compared to about 1 in 5 of white children. Between 1980 and 2023, the proportion of children living in two-parent homes declined for white youth and Hispanic youth. For black youth, the proportion of children living in two-parent families was above the level in 1980. So, in more recent times, Hispanic and white children have declined when it comes to having two-parent families, and black youth has increased. Go find another one. How has the delinquency caseload changed since the 60s? So the caseload was 36 above the caseload in 1960. So since 1960, the caseload has greatly increased, but as you see in more recent times, it has substantially decreased and is starting to peak a little bit over in 2021. But as of right now, it doesn't seem to be as high as it was back in the early 2000s, late 1990s. So this is actually an interesting fact. The COVID-19 pandemic, which began in 2020, it had impacted a lot of the stuff that was being done regarding different processes that they had to do to change to this pandemic. So there were stay-at-home orders, school closures, which impacted the volume and type of behavior that the children were committing. So it says here, on any given day in 2022, juvenile courts handled 1,500 delinquency cases. In comparison, 1,100. What proportion of arrests involve juveniles? So it says 1 in every 13 arrests for murder and 1 in every 20 arrests for assault, 1 in every 5 for a robbery is a juvenile. So it seems here that the most common for a juvenile offense is robbery. Second would be a liquor law, so underage drinking, motor vehicle and vandalism right behind them. and it gets lower as you go down. And it seems as if the more intense criminal activities, such as murder and larceny, they seem to be lower. Drug abuse, DUIs, drunkenness, they're all down at the bottom. When all these are higher, I'm sure liquor laws definitely relates to kids getting fake IDs in college and such. I think that was 6, but I'm just going to do one more just to be safe. So, what are the characteristics of cases placed on formal probation? A person's offense accounts for the large share of formal probation caseload. So here they are. Most serious offense, the person, property, drugs, public order in the years that they were in, their sex, their race, age of referral. So again, it relates to COVID-19 when you see the data from 2020, 2022, even to now. So since 2005, females annually accounted for 21 to 23% of formal probation caseload. White youth accounted for a small share, which was 42 to 47%. Black youth larger of 38 to 33. The age profile of adjudicated delinquency cases ordered to probation was about the same in 2022 as it was in 2005, sorry. All right. So describe the CJRP and CFRC. Discuss 3 useful descriptive data points from the survey. This means what sort of data they can inform us on, and you must share some of the real information. Okay, so I went ahead and I did already look through this. So the CJRP, it is a group's consensus of the people that are in the youth under the age of 21. They are in either some sort of secure or some sort of non-secure residential facility that they are residing in. This survey collects data such as the offense types, the placement status, whether they are in jail, they're not in jail, what facility they're in, and other sort of demographics to gain and collect more information and data on them. So the JFRC, it is the Juvenile Residential Facility Census. So it is basically programs, public, private. It basically shows the different facilities' capabilities, their capacities, what they can do, their staffing. It basically just lets them see all the resources that they have and really understand who needs to go where and why. So, some 3 things. Did I say 3 things? Sorry. From the survey. Okay, so 3 things from the survey would be that their status was mixed due to placement. So a certain portion were detained, a certain portion of residents were going to be committed, and some other were sitting in a different status. I remember public facilities were said to have held fewer committed youth compared to the private ones. Another important descriptive data point would be the breakdown of it. So there was a lot more delinquency offenses, and the residents were put in placement due to them. That was the majority. The other percentage were held for other reasons of like abuse and therapy and treatment needs, but main amount was for offenses and rehabilitation, not just for certain things where people needed to go for mental health or rehab or something like that. So another thing too that I noticed was a good descriptive data point was the age of the people in it. So normally, like you saw before, the 16 to 7-year-olds, we've talked about it before, have a higher rate of committing crimes than the younger people in the system. And so I believe it said over 50% when I was looking through it and looking everything up, but over 50% of the population was 16 to 17-year-olds. And even though they're a small portion of the population, they made up majority of this status, being of that age. So Yeah. I can, when I do my paper, I will try and go back and find the exact numbers that I was looking at before. I looked it up prior, and that's just what I was doing off of my head for the video, but I will definitely go back and get the correct numbers for that last segment, because I see here it says actual numbers, so I will in my paper. Sorry. Well, thank you. Yeah. See if I can get this. I always struggle to get this off. Set escape key. How do you do this?